I challenge you, Anthony Joshua, to fight me, the Gypsy King, next!
I punched you up when we were kids, and after watching you here tonight, I'll punch you up again.
Do not run from me this time. 10 years in the making. Let's dance.
Make sure y'all stay on point with the Puncher's Point. What is good, y'all? Welcome back to the Puncher's Point. Tyson Fury is back, defeating Makhmudov by unanimous decision. We're going to talk about it. Now, obviously, there is a lot to uncover in this entire episode. The fight already happened, but the most important thing out of this whole event is what happened after the fight when Tyson Fury called out Anthony Joshua. We're going to get into details as to what happened. And according to Netflix, they said that they are in the process of making that fight, or that fight is already made. Again, how will that hold up? I'm not sure. You know how it is. Fighters make fights. All of a sudden, something happens. It comes into the way, and then those fights get canceled. But regardless, before I say anything else, first off, congratulations to Tyson Fury on defeating Makhmudov by unanimous decision in Tottenham. Not the prettiest fight. No, obviously, you can tell Tyson Fury, I think he still had some ring rust towards later on in the fight. I think he started to pick it up a little bit. He started to clean up some things. But there are some things that we can take away from this fight. And on top of that, we're going to talk about the key moments and all those types of things. We're going to talk about how he fared off against a heavy hitter in Makhmudov. But regardless of all of that, enough of the yapping. Let's get into the grades. First off, strategy grade. Now, not going to lie to you guys, I give the strategy grade a 7.5 out of 10. Now, as far as the keys to victory that I had for Tyson Fury, first one I had was box onto the outside, and he did that. I think Tyson Fury did a good job of staying onto the outside for the most part. However, there were also times where he would engage onto the inside, and Sugar Hill, he had to remind him, Tyson Fury's trainer, he had to remind him that, hey, stop going to the inside, stop training with this guy because we don't need to do all that. Tyson Fury, he was his best when he was staying on the outside, and when he was really sticking that jab, he was following up with the right hand. And as time progressed, you really started seeing him use that uppercut a lot more, and he used that uppercut a lot more in this fight that he had in previous fights. If you go back to the prediction episode, in the preview episode, I said that Tyson Fury only throws that uppercut when it's needed. But in this fight, he threw it a lot more. Mauro Ranallo said it best. Ain't no party like an uppercut party. And that's what Tyson Fury was doing. He was going in there and he was establishing that uppercut, which I found pretty interesting. The other thing that kind of took me by surprise a little bit, I know he's the bigger guy, but he was the one controlling the clinches. He was the one controlling the leverage in the clinches. It seemed like he was getting the better of Makhmudov in that fight. And Tyson Fury came into this fight at 269 pounds. Kind of light for Tyson Fury if you really think about it, because as many times he comes in at 275, 280 plus. This fight, he was a little bit light. And I obviously know why. Obviously, the box onto the outside. But in those clinch exchanges, you would think somebody like Makhmudov would get the upper hand, considering that they really wanted to hype up the fact that he wrestles bears. The problem is, whenever they would get into a clinch, it seemed like Tyson Fury was the aggressor. It seemed like Tyson Fury was the one who was establishing his will in those moments. A lot of hooks in the clinch from both men, from Makhmudov and from Tyson Fury. Obviously, the other keys to victory I had, he threw that right straight. I think he did that very well. And then basically stick the jab and add some punches at the end. And he had his moments of doing that. I feel like he could have did that a little bit more. I feel like there were moments where he would stick that jab, and Makhmudov did a good job of tying him up before he could throw the right hand. But he could have also threw like some left hooks in the middle of that. He could have threw some 1-2 punch combinations after the jab. I feel like there were a lot of times where he was just relying on that jab, and there's nothing wrong with that. Obviously, we've said it many times, the jab is the most important punch in boxing, and it seemed like the jab alone was doing enough to Makhmudov, but I would really like to see him follow up after that jab a lot more. Now, as far as Makhmudov, look, I'm going to be honest with you guys. Makhmudov really didn't have a bad game plan. But with that being said, how did he lose? The keys to victory that I had from Makhmudov was test Tyson Fury's chin. He did that early. He was pressuring him. He was pushing him up against those ropes. Again, he was clipping him with those hooks, and Tyson Fury was responding very well. So that key to victory didn't work, but it was worth a shot. Test his chin, see where he's at. There were some moments where I think Makhmudov hurt Tyson Fury in the early rounds, but Tyson Fury, being Tyson Fury, he bounced back and he was able to control the majority of the fight. The other key to victory I had was keep targeting the body. That right there is where I think Makhmudov shied away from, because in the early rounds, I think he did a good job of that. And he was targeting the body when he wanted to use his feints and go back up to the top. But I feel like as the rounds progressed and as we got later on to the fight, I feel like Makhmudov kind of shied away from targeting that body. And then obviously the third key to victory was use feints and level changes. And I think he did that relatively well in some moments. The problem was I don't think he had the correct distance when doing that. The problem is you're over here, you're throwing to the body and you're coming up to the top. And a lot of times where he would do that, he would clip Tyson Fury with a hook. When he got into the clinches, he would clip Tyson Fury with those hooks. Those hooks were doing a little bit of damage to Tyson Fury. If you go back and you look at the fight, again, he was doing a little bit of damage to Tyson Fury with those hooks. The problem was most of the time he would throw that feint or he would start doing those level changes. The problem was the distance between him and Tyson Fury. That's what got into the way of it. He was a little too close. I would have liked to see him be a little further apart. I would have liked to see him parry the jab a little bit more, try to work his way onto the inside and do it. I think that would have been a lot more beneficial. But overall, the moments were there for Makhmudov. I just don't think he could capitalize on them as much as he should. But as far as those three keys to victory, I saw him in Makhmudov. I feel like Makhmudov knew what he was doing. He really tried to stop Tyson Fury from adding combinations to that jab. And I think he did a good job of it. But the problem was, as we progressed later on to the rounds, Makhmudov starts getting tired. Makhmudov starts feeling the power of Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury starts getting back into his rhythm. And then all of a sudden, it turns into a completely different fight. After that first round, it was all Tyson Fury's fight. But you can tell Tyson Fury was getting a lot more comfortable. It started off as a jab. Eventually, started turning into a jab in the right hand. Then, obviously, he would start adding the uppercuts. Then you get into the clinch exchanges, and Tyson Fury starts throwing that check left hook. And that check left hook was a very big key in this fight as well. So as far as strategy, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I give it a 7.5 out of 10. I think both these guys had the right strategy. I think both these guys could have utilized that strategy a lot more. But I think they followed it. I think they did what they were supposed to do. I just think the only problem with Makhmudov was I think he couldn't really control the distance against Tyson Fury. And as the rounds progressed, I think he started to get tired. And as far as Tyson Fury, he started getting his flow. But earlier in the fight, you could tell that he was definitely rusty from not being in the ring in 16 months. But as far as the strategy, I got to give it a 7.5 out of 10. As far as the excitement grade, I got to give it a 6.5. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I don't think this was really an exciting fight. It wasn't back and forth. One guy was controlling the entire fight. There were some moments in this fight where you would see one guy get clipped, or you would see like Tyson Fury, he would get clipped with a big shot. But it wasn't a fight that I think had fans on their feet. I really don't think it was an exciting fight. Tyson Fury obviously being rusty from not being in the ring, that has something to do with it as well. It wasn't as fluid as I would like to see it. Kind of messy at times as well. And there wasn't no big drama in this fight or anything like that. And interesting enough, the same referee that refed Deontay Wilder and Derek Chisora, he had his hands full on that one. This one, it's the same exact ref who refereed that fight. He refereed this fight as well. And he really didn't have his hands full in this one. So when you go and you look at it, I feel like this fight wasn't as exciting, as Deontay Wilder and Derek Chisora, but I'm not expecting it to be that exciting. That fight could potentially be fight of the year. I expected more fireworks, and I really didn't get them. So as far as excitement, I have to give it a 6.5 out of 10. I feel like, again, one-sided, one guy's controlling the pace. There weren't really too many big moments, not too many moments that had the fans off their feet. So I got to give it a 6.5 out of 10. Now, stakes, not going to lie, I give it a 6. And the reason why I give it a 6 is because, nothing was on the line. Even though this was Tyson Fury's return fight, he's going up against a guy in Makhmudov who really doesn't have a lot of hype behind him. He really didn't do a great job of promoting this fight and building it up. Obviously, the big talks were Deontay Wilder versus Derek Chisora. Derek Chisora and Deontay Wilder, that was the fight that was getting hyped up the most. They did their job in promoting this fight. Tyson Fury, him coming back, I feel like this was just a fight to kind of test where he was. So the stakes weren't really high. And on top of that, nothing's really set in stone. So with all of that being said, I got to give the stakes a 6 out of 10. During the time of hyping up this fight, there really wasn't anything set in stone. There was no drama. I mean, the most exciting thing as far as the whole build-up to this fight was Makhmudov picking up Tyson Fury in the face-off. Other than that, I mean, what was there really? I mean, Makhmudov texting on his phone while Tyson Fury was talking. None of this was really any big build-up or anything that would make me glue onto the screen. But Tyson Fury returned. So therefore, that was something worth looking at. So as far as stakes, I got to give it a 6 out of 10. There really wasn't nothing on the line for this fight. Now, as far as impact, I got to give the impact a 7.5 out of 10. I feel like the reason why you got to give it a 7.5 out of 10 is because of what happened after the fight. How does this impact the sport of boxing? Well, we could potentially get the greatest British heavyweight fight in history. Obviously, when Joshua and Fury, when or if they step into the ring, it's going to be a big sellout. It's going to be probably the event of the year. So those are things to consider. However, the question is, are we really going to get that fight? I know it's been confirmed, but excuse me, it took them 10 years to make this fight. Excuse me if I have a little bit of doubt that this fight's not going to be made. Because the reality of it is, there's been so many times where this fight has been rumored to be made. There's been so many times where both these guys had sit-downs, and doesn't mean they agree to it now, does not mean the fight is going to happen. Again, we know how boxing is. They agree. Next thing you know, something comes into the way, fight's canceled. But I give the impact a 7.5 out of 10 because now the three biggest heavyweights are back. Look, Alexander Usyk is the best one. No mistake about that. But the three biggest ones, which are Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, and Deontay Wilder, all three of them are back. All three of them had wins. They got back into the win column, and all three of them, I think, are making a run to potentially be the heavyweight champion again. And I feel like the impact with Tyson Fury, you can finally make that fight happen with him and Anthony Joshua. And regardless of the belt, that's still going to be the biggest fight of the year because these two have been controlling British heavyweight boxing for a very, very long time. They just never crossed paths. And I feel like with that going on, I feel like we could potentially get Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. Now, Deontay Wilder, he's that third option right now. What's he going to be waiting for? Who does he want to fight? Who is he going to fight? Maybe he goes and fights Usyk. I know Usyk called him out. But the impact is there. Now, since Tyson Fury is back in boxing, there's a lot of possibilities that could be made. And obviously, they said that him and Anthony Joshua, that fight's going to be made, or that fight is already made, or it's already official. Again, it happened a little too quick for my taste, so who knows if that's even relatively going to happen. We'll find out in due time. But as far as the overall fight grade, when you put it all together, the overall fight grade for this fight is going to be a 6.88 out of 10. Again, it's not going to be in the top 10 for the fights of 2026. And I don't think it was Tyson Fury's best fight. However, it could lead up to something much, much bigger. But we're going to have to wait and see later on. We're going to have to see what happens. We're going to have to see if this fight still holds. We're going to have to see all the press conferences. We're going to have to see if everything holds on until then. What is next for Tyson Fury? Well, again, we've talked about it a lot. Him and Anthony Joshua, it seems like they've agreed to make the fight happen. However, you got to also look at the other side of the coin. If that fight doesn't happen, what's next? Well, me personally, I would like to see Tyson Fury fight the winner of maybe Dubois and Fabio Wardley. Now, I know I said the same thing about Deontay Wilder, but bear with me. Deontay Wilder just beat Derek Chisora. I think Derek Chisora is a lot more credible than Makhmudov. However, with all of that being said, Tyson Fury being champion, and especially going up against one of those other two British heavyweights, that draws for a better fight. And I feel like we're already past the boat of Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury. I don't think any of us want to see that happen a fourth time. But for me, I feel like either guy could fight the winner of that fight between Dubois and Wardley, and I think it would still make sense. But Tyson Fury in itself, I think it sells more because you're looking at two British heavyweights. You're looking at it for a heavyweight championship. The headline obviously is going to be, can Tyson Fury become a three-time heavyweight champion? And overall, I just feel like having that in England, it's going to drive more. I mean, you saw what Dubois and Anthony Joshua did. They sold out 90,000 in Wembley. You're going to tell me that Dubois and Tyson Fury can't do the same thing? Or are you going to tell me Wardley can't do the same thing? I'm just saying this right now. I feel like there's a lot more money to be made, and there's a lot more hype around Tyson Fury fighting the winner of that fight than Deontay Wilder. But if Deontay Wilder gets that fight, I'm not mad about it either. I also think that Tyson Fury might have to earn his shot back to Usyk, considering the fact that Usyk has beat him twice. Again, once a fighter beats another fighter twice, we really don't want to see the third fight. We just don't. That's the truth. And I feel like Tyson Fury just coming back, having the I don't want to say lackluster performance, kind of underperforming in his fight with Makhmudov. I feel like there's still work to be done. And I feel like Tyson Fury has to work off that ring rust little by little. And I feel like the best way to do it is maybe pick up a tune-up fight between Dubois and Wardley, or before the fight of the winner of Dubois and Wardley, and then work your way to that heavyweight shot. But I'm personally all interested in seeing that fight happen. Again, I love British boxing. I think British boxing puts up some of the best events. I think they promote it extremely well. And I always think when you have two Brits fighting in the same ring in London or on England soil, I think it makes for a beautiful fight. I think it makes for an entertaining fight most of the time. And I think that England, I think the British, I think they're some of the best at making the best fights in boxing. So me personally, I would like to see Tyson Fury fight the winner of Dubois and Fabio Wardley. That's the short answer right there. But there's so many fights that could be made in the heavyweight division. I think the heavyweight division is definitely heating up. Again, let's keep it a buck. Less than a year ago, maybe give it 6 months to a year ago, we were talking about how this division was dull because Usyk ran through everybody. Now, since the big heavyweights are finally making their comebacks and they're finally trying to make one last grasp at a heavyweight title, now all of a sudden it adds that drama, adds that excitement, adds that intensity to the heavyweight division that I think it's been missing for the past year. So I'm excited about it. With all of that being said, it's time for us to log off. Again, congratulations to Tyson Fury on getting back into the win column after 16 months. Again, we're going to have to see what happens till then. Until the next fight, make sure y'all continue to tune into the Puncher's Point. Make sure y'all tune into the social medias, the podcast platforms. Make sure y'all continue to like, share, follow, subscribe, do all of those beautiful things. Comment. Let me know what you think about the fight. Definitely type that in the comments below. Let me know what you think should be next for Tyson Fury if it's not Anthony Joshua. Or let me know what you think about Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua. Who you got? Give me your early predictions. But with all of that being said, do one thing, and this is the most important thing. Make sure y'all continue to stay on point with the Puncher's Point.